Welcome, dear listener. Step closer, step closer. Tonight's tale, a velvet strand of temptation and despair, is whispered from the shadows of the city's darkened streets. Nestled somewhere in an unmarked passage of a nameless alley, it waits. They call it the Velvet Room. Have you heard the rumors? They say it only appears to those who are lost, unmoored, or desperate enough to submit to its lure. Its crimson, velvet-draped door seems an invitation, doesn't it? But heed my warning, curious soul, for past thresholds lined in velvet, every desire comes at a cost. Meet Juliet. Ah, what a tragic portrait she paints against the backdrop of ambition's wreckage. Once a starry-eyed 21-year-old, her aspirations of stardom dulled by 7 failed auditions, a pile of rejection letters, and the cold whispers of a city that showed no mercy. She spent every evening slumped over her chipped keyboard in the attic apartment she could barely afford, firing off applications in a city that never answered back. Until tonight. It was past midnight when Juliet first saw it. Her breath frosted in the chilly alley, and the hazy smog thickened, as if the buildings themselves leaned closer to conspire. A sigh escaped her lips. "Another night wasted," she murmured, clutching her coat tighter as the city howled with silence. But then, there it was, a crimson shimmer in the corner of her eye. A doorway, impossible and sudden, framed in velvet so red it seemed alive. She froze, her pulse quickening to a thrum in her chest. The air shifted. Something pulled her forward, the whispers of a low, hypnotic melody tickling her ears. Juliet couldn't quite place where the music came from, only that it was for her. As she stepped closer, the whispers became words. Her name, Juliet. And the world seemed to fade. Curiosity wrapped its tendrils around her spine. Suddenly, a voice low and smooth, laced with undeniable allure, spoke from the other side of the velvet door. "Your stage awaits." Fingers trembling, Juliet pushed it open. The Velvet Room. Imagine it, dear listener. Plush red interiors, smoky golden lights, an ambiance so lush it could drown you. Silhouettes danced in impossible fluid motion, their faces obscured by carnival masks that gleamed under the dim light, giving each movement an enigmatic chill. Everyone had a glass, amber liquid swirling and shimmering like dreams captured in crystal. But the most outlandish part? The stage. A slick platform adorned with a microphone, brilliant as the sun, yet shrouded in murk. Only one word hovered over it. Perform. Juliet didn't remember climbing the lonely stage, but somehow, she was there. The microphone felt wrong under her fingertips. Heavy like lead, yet beckoning, promising, pleading. "Sing," came a whispered suggestion from nowhere and everywhere. So she did, and oh, dear audience, did she sing. What a performance. The crowd, if crowds they were, froze, regal and monstrous figures suddenly fixated beneath their glinting masks. Her voice was raw, desperate, coated in all the broken yearning she hid from the waking world. Juliet poured her aching soul through every note, daring the Velvet Room to consume her. And consume her it did. The applause was deafening, even unearthly. The shadows of the room stretched long, their figures impossibly taller. They leaned closer, faceless masks shimmering gold, silver, and black like watchful gods. A figure approached. A man. At least he seemed human enough in his slick, tailored attire. He clapped a rhythmic echo. "You were spectacular," he breathed, his words like syrup, sweet and binding. Who are you?" Juliet stammered, her voice caught between gratitude and terror. "The Velvet Room recognizes true artists," he said, ignoring her question. "And it rewards them handsomely. Success, fame, love. Seal it with a drink." He gestured to the goblet set upon a mirrored tray, held aloft by hands too pale to belong to the living. Juliet hesitated, but allowed her fingers to graze the goblet's surface, icy, weightless. As she drank its content, coppery and visceral, she gasped. Memories flashed like a reel. A life she'd live with fame cascading through gilded doors. Everything she ever wanted at her fingertips. But reality snapped back, snapping with a shudder as if the velvet room exhaled. "A contract," whispered the golden masked figures. "To live the dream, one must leave behind a piece of the soul." Panic bubbled up Juliet's spine. "What does that mean?" she demanded, turning once more toward the enigmatic man. The edges of his mouth unfurled into an unreadable smile. "The stage has marked you," he replied, "and it never releases performers." Juliet staggered back, lifting her hands, only to find luminous threads extending from her fingertips. The threads attached to the stage's very foundation, rooting her essence into the room itself. "No!" she screamed, tugging, but the threads gleamed brighter, overtaking her will. For every ounce of fear she had, the unseen strangers mirrored it with something akin to joy, their claps and cheers deafening. A macabre celebration ending her life as Juliet knew it. And now? Dear listener, perhaps you dare ask what became of her. Juliet performed still, her voice echoing tirelessly through the hollow chambers of a world outside time. The velvet room claimed her as its muse, its prisoner, bound forever to serenade an audience that feeds on her anguish. Beware, wanderer. Should you hear the whispers of music calling you in the airless dark, walk away. Run, if you must. For past crimson velvet lies a hollow promise, a temptation cunning enough to rob you of not just what you own, but what you are. And so, our curtain drops. Tell me, would you risk stepping inside the velvet room? Or will this ghostly chant echo in your ears until temptation pulls you in? Until next time, darling, may you steer clear of velvet strands and sing only for an audience that loves you back. Stay haunted, always.